Welcome to BestiesGiving. I thought it would be fun to invite everybody to this live stream extravaganza where we come together. It's for the Americans here, it's Thanksgiving, and for anybody globally, you likely know about Thanksgiving in America. You also likely know that a lot of us, if we don't aren't connected with family or are far from family or don't like our family or whatever, or in addition to enjoying our family, we sometimes do something called Friendsgiving. And so I thought it would be fun. I'm just going to check that I am live on all the things. I thought it would be fun to come together and do besties giving for anybody who wanted to join in. And yeah, so I thought it would be really fun. We started doing something called last week. I went live on YouTube, and I called it Coffee with Bestie, and then we all voted and got a three-way tie for, do we want it to be tea with besties for the UK people, anybody else who likes tea, coffee with besties, or coffee, tea, and besties. And I think where we kind of landed was a tie, but so coffee and tea with besties sounded right. I'm just going to go over and check YouTube to make sure I am vibing on all the places. If you are here already, feel free. Oh, oops. Yeah, feel free to let me know what you're drinking in the comments. All right, it looks like we are good. Okay, so welcome to Besties Giving. I have my coffee here. I have MCT oil in it, and then I blend it up with one of those little handheld mixer dealy bobs to get the oil and the coffee blended together. I've been drinking my coffee without milk for, I don't know, years, and without sugar for even more years. I think I quit sugar in my coffee like, I don't know, 10, 15, 13 years ago or something. Yeah, you get used to the bitterness, don't you? So let me know what you are drinking in the comments. Oh, Vic, this is so funny. So Vic says, "Sorry I'm late. I was finishing my suggested gratitude list." Yeah. I mean, isn't that the thing? How we were given so many suggestions inside 12 step. Uh, and I've heard the analogy said multiple times in my homeroom, and maybe you have too, where telling us what to do a gratitude list or whatever as a suggestion, when people say it's a suggestion, is similar to when you tell somebody to wear a parachute. You suggest they wear a parachute when they jump out of a plane, right? Because the suggestions are held with like a threat. So a lot of us were coerced into gratitude, and that can leave a really icky feeling in our being, I guess, in our minds and our hearts and our spirits about gratitude in general. And I'd say that being human is to have all the feelings. That includes anger, that includes resentment, that includes gratitude, that includes what was coerced into us in 12 step, and also what was coerced or inventoried out of us in 12 step. So I'm all for reclaiming all of our humanity and being allowed to be exactly as we are. Um, so, yeah, gratitude can feel weird after AA. If you're still feeling weird about it, I totally get that. I'm still reclaiming it. I don't actively do gratitude lists, but I actively feel grateful as I actively feel all the feelings. I don't think there's anything wrong with actively doing gratitude lists. Maybe that's still just me getting out of, like, the AA rituals and stuff, because I know that when we bathe our brain in things like gratitude, it is gonna have a biochemical experience on us, which will have a positive effect, and also it'll start to shape shift our brain in that way and start to create new neural networks that are all in all on the up and up. That's why I think reclaiming gratitude is such a powerful invitation for us. Reclaiming every single thing is really important, or really a vibe after leaving a high control system, because I think that, yeah, we get to be all of ourselves, the good and the bad, the ugly, all of it. Like, that's what being human is. Being human is just being how we are and not having to fit ourselves to not having to conform into any ideology, any system for, yeah. Okay, so let's see. So Blue Butterfly is having kombucha. Yep, I got my coffee here, getting my coffee on. Um, Kombucha might have to reset your sobriety date. Oh my God. That's so funny. I don't even believe in resetting sobriety dates anymore. I know you're being super facetious here and joking. I feel like it's just such a shame game, isn't it? Which I think is what you're pointing to. I actually drank it wasn't kombucha, it was something like that. They were, like, big ones. I was in Bali, and they made them on the island. It was coconut water kefir. It was, like, fermented kefir, and I was drinking 1 a day 'cause I was on antibiotics, and the 5th day, it was like a bad batch, I guess, or good batch, depending on your perspective. I drank half of it, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm totally feeling like I'm getting drunk," and I realized I was having, a very high alcohol content, what was it? Kefir drink, like a kinda like a kombucha, so I stopped drinking it. I considered continuing to drink it because I did like how I felt, but I was like, "Nah, this is like at this point, now that I realize I'm drinking alcohol, I'm getting buzzed, I'm gonna set it down." Let's see. Gratitude is like that movie Misery. Oh, totally. And we got, laughing over here. Um, Gratitude, Kathy Bates, and the sledgehammer. Totally, that's the scene that came to my mind. Blue Butterfly says, "Those alcothons were ridiculous. Like, without them, we would be drinking behind a dumpster." Yeah. Did anybody go to those alcothons? I know, like, one yeah, I was a speaker at one of them. I really should have been with my family. I was like, I have to do service work. I gotta be out of self. And so, yeah, it's nice to be able to have conscious choice these days, doesn't it? Vic says, "I'm going to an alcothon later. Food of the year." Awesome. It's awesome if that's true, and, there's a lot of connection and community with AA, and it is a tremendous loss. That's part of the reason why I wanted to, do this, Besties Giving. Besties Giving! Remember to put your beverage that you are currently drinking, coffee, tea, and Besties Giving. What are you drinking? Let us know in the comments. No shame in the game here. I'm drinking coffee. Someone's drinking kombucha. You might be drinking tea. You might be drinking something stronger. Okay, so I wanted to talk also about holidays without fellowship. So my last Thanksgiving while I was in Alcoholics Anonymous, we had a big AA Thanksgiving party. And that's definitely something that I miss from AA is the fellowship, like what felt like community. And it was community, but those I'm not in contact with those people anymore, so it's kind of like fake community or faux community, or I don't know how you'd say it. So, but there was this one, woman who was well off, and she was a business owner in Bali, and she had a spa that she was remodeling, and so she had a big, huge, empty open space as they were building the new spa, like, huge. So she set up a bunch of tables in this very big open building that wasn't built yet into her new establishment or new um, and she catered it. She had a bunch of it wasn't traditional she was American. It wasn't traditional American food because, it's not really turkeys on the island, but she did have all sorts of, like, Indonesian food, different kinds of food, and she invited all of the 12-step fellowship. It's not a big fellowship on Bali, but there was probably, like, I don't know, like 60 or maybe 70 people there. Like, it was kind of a big dinner, and it was, like, one really big long table, and people were sitting all around the sides. And, that was fun. It was nice to be a part of something. It was nice to have somewhere to go. It was nice to be part of a tradition. And for me, it is a huge loss to not have that. It doesn't mean we can't rebuild it outside of it, but I don't think that saying that AA was all bad is helpful when it's not true, right? We can grieve what really is a loss. And so if this is your first year without being a part of the fellowship, like I get it. Like my first year out of the fellowship, it was hard to go through some of the things where normally I would have people to lean on, like even a sobriety birthday. It's like, well, what do I do? I don't wanna go get a chip. I don't wanna go to the cult, but, like, I kinda wanna celebrate or whatever it is, you know? So I wanna honor that too, that this might feel like a big time of loss. Let me see. Kate is asking, "What's an alkathon?" So, please join in the comments and answer that question too. I'll answer from my experience, but wherever you are in the world, it could have been a little bit different. The way that it was in San Francisco when I first got sober, it was a series of like back-to-back meetings. There may not be food, but it's like around not 24 hours, but, like, maybe 15 hours, like, all day, all sorts of meetings, or it could have even been, like, bringing meetings to detox centers and things like that. Okay, Jason says 24-hour meeting after meeting. Yeah, constantly, so that I think at the point is you can stay connected, you can just go there if it's gonna be a really hard time, if there's gonna be triggers. A lot of us can be triggered by family or holidays, right? And so, yeah. And Kate says, "I did that at conventions." Um, Here we have Jason saying, "What's the worst things you had to be grateful for that someone made me grateful for?" That's a great question for the comments. If you wanna add below, what is the worst thing that you were made to be grateful for? I think one of the ways that gratitude was, like, weaponized harmful, I would say, like, devastating, is this straight up spiritual bypassing. No matter what you feel, whether you feel harmed, whether you feel scared of a predator in Alcoholics Anonymous, and God forbid you mention it to your sponsor and told to stay on your side of the street and stay grateful, or whether it is about a trauma that's coming up for you on your inventory, or just something that happens in life, just that you're not a lot of us are made to feel like we can't feel how we actually feel, that we need to feel grateful under a kind of a threat, that it's not safe for us to feel any way other than grateful. And I know a lot of us are really into reading books. When I read through the cult literature, they're called like a cult pseudo personality, and I really identify with that. When I got to AA, a lot of my personality was, culted out of me, for lack of a better way of saying it, like, can't be resentful, can't be angry, can't be on other people's side of the street, need to be of service, need to be a maximum service to my fellows, need to be grateful, and so I was actively, like, conforming myself into what was acceptable by the cult religion, by AA, which is yeah, it's like a very specific thing. You know, if you parrot the ideology in the rooms, you will get love essentially, or connection, what feels like connection. So, uh, to me, having to be grateful for anything, for even having coerced into gratitude for anything, to me feels violent. That's violent is the word that really feels right to me. Let me know if you agree, because violence a big word. It feels violent to try to make somebody feel different than they actually feel. And let's keep in mind that a lot of us end up drinking our way into sobriety in the first place because we have unresolved trauma from childhood. Not everybody, obviously, but we already have a lot of unprocessed emotional like stuff, and then so to not even be to be how we are and unravel and thaw out and unpack, but to have to be a certain way to get love, it's like recreating dynamics from dysfunctional systems that we may have been in prior to AA, including family systems. A lot of people leave comments about, like, narcissistic families and things like that on my channel. So I know that that's, like, true for a lot of people and how they're thinking about it. Okay, so yeah, Jason, like, every other hour for the alkathons. Vic says, "Generally, where I'm located, the room will be open for 18 hours or so, and there'll be meetings every other hour, so in between, you can just hang in fellowship and not be told what to do." Yeah, I think, like, the clubhouse near where I got sober was open at 6 and would go till midnight, so yeah, exactly that. Jason says, "I was in DC during the Midtown meeting time." Okay, yeah, we had a podcast with somebody from Mandy from Midtown DC meeting, and a lot of underage 13th step. I mean, it should be called something other than 13th step when they're minors, but yeah. I don't know if that's still going on though in Midtown. I've never been. And Jason says, "I was not really going to meetings, but I would hear about very sad." Oh, I think that comment got cut off. Um, yeah, so for me, when unpacking oh, here's the rest of it. Jason says, "We didn't hear about minors." Yeah. Um, When I really think about what happened with gratitude for me and what I saw in my experience, and I feel like it might be similar to or relatable to a lot of people's experience, it comes down to self-betrayal. That's the violence for me because it's like coerced self-betrayal. How you are is not okay. You need to be different. You need to conform. You need to be different than you are. You need to be in the group think. You need to be in the group attitude. You need to be acting as if. You need to be faking it till you make it. And so it can create an abandonment of our natural state, which is to be all the things. And ironically or interestingly enough, a lot of the people who do the ad hominem trolling of me, people who are inside the AA ideology, whether they're in AA or just society indoctrinated into AA, they will try to use they will use words, and call me things, call me moods basically that were banned in AA as if that's a bad word. So they'll say like, "You're angry." I'm like, "I mean, bro, even if I am, that's not a bad thing." Or, "You're resentful." I'm like, "Not really, but even if I was, like, who cares?" Like, I'm allowed to be resentful. I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to be who I am. I'm also allowed to be grateful. I am naturally grateful all of the time. And I haven't been grateful for my sobriety in a long time because it's not a big thing, but I've been grateful for other new things. I'm usually when I naturally gratitude, let me know what you think in the comments, but when I am naturally grateful, it's usually for something more recent or current in my life, like a current thing that I've been working through and had a breakthrough because we're always evolving, right? So for me, because I haven't drank since 2009, it's hard for me to naturally feel grateful about that. I can cultivate it, and AA was having me cultivate it, and hearing about people getting sober helps, like, me relive my gratitude for being sober, but I'm grateful for stuff that happened this past year, this past month. You know what I mean? That's how it naturally arises for me. I don't need to walk myself into my worst moments to now feel grateful that I don't have those moments. I can, and maybe there's benefit there if I'm struggling with that thing, but I naturally feel grateful, for a lot of things just as they're occurring. Like, I've said this before, but what I feel most grateful for about naturally these days is how well my brain is working, and I've worked really, really hard to get my brain working better. So that's what naturally arises in me. Multiple times a week, I'll be finishing everything on my to-do list or feeling super organized or getting so much done or just being able to think so clearly or being so emotionally stable or whatever it is. And that's not how I was a little while ago. So, like, I've worked very, very hard to get my nervous system and my brain optimized in a way that's working well. So I will notice naturally in the moment how much better I am doing than I was a year to 5 ago, and it will gratitude will naturally arise, and that's what my gratitude looks like today. It looks like me just having a normal human experience, the same way that my anger is. Something might happen, a thought, something will trigger an emotion, and then, it's to me, that's like what being human is for me. So, let's see, um, hello, Cassandra. Gobble, gobble. I know not everybody celebrates Thanksgiving, but if you do, happy Thanksgiving. Are you having a meal today? You know what I'm really curious about? Um, by the way, I cooked a turkey yesterday for my first time ever. Have y'all pulled the gizzards out? That's an experience not to be missed. Um, I'm I'm wondering for the people who are not in America, or even if you are in America, what was Thanksgiving like? What was November like in AA? Was it gratitude heavy? I know that AA obviously was created by Bill and Bob who were Americans, and so the roots of AA, well, the roots are an Oxford group, but the roots were in America, right? And so that some of American traditions in general culture might be passed into AA traditions and maybe even globally, but I don't know if, for example, gratitude was pushed heavily globally in Alcoholics Anonymous or 12-step NA, whatever group you were in. In other countries, was November, like, gratitude heavy as well? Did that tradition like, transcend American specific holidays, or let me know, I'm curious. Mm. Cassandra says, "I feel like gratitude when it happens, not performative." Yeah, I love gratitude when it arises because it feels good. It totally feels good. Um, Jason, you really humanize humanized? The Steppers, I give so much credit for your bravery, and you're amazing, amazing person. Thank you. Yeah. Um, it's definitely been something that I'll tell you in my own evolution to be just getting ooh, almost a little emotion there. Just getting so much, like, hate every day from a cult. It's, like, such a weird thing that I never thought I'd put myself in this position. I'm not a victim, I'm choosing this. And so it's just really weird to get so much, like, hate every day. Like, I'm just not used to this. It's like, "Whoa, people are really messed up." But I think it's the internet, you know what I mean? If you put yourself out there, if you take a stand, you're gonna get, like, lovers and haters or whatever. If you whether it's about politics, whatever it's about. So and AA is a religion. I believe AA is a religion, it's a path to God. So if you take a stand against a religion, you will get lovers and haters. You will get people that agree with you and people that don't agree with you. Meaning, when I say lovers and haters, I mean people that passionately agree or disagree with you, or it could be a spectrum, right? Cassandra's saying, "We cook a little bit, but always, talk about native land with kids." Totally. I love that. Um, he's saying, "I was in English-speaking AA in Rome, so everything was American as far as traditions, including Thanksgiving, but Italian meetings had nothing in November." That's fascinating how there really is different flavors of AA in different cultures and subcultures and stuff like that. The whole groups are autonomous, right? But even though um, different AA groups are autonomous, to me, when I think about Alcoholics Anonymous or 12-step in general, but I'll speak specifically to my experience, which was AA, although I'm pretty sure it goes out to the other fellowships if they're using the 12 steps, right? That it's harmful in general, whether or not your group was using Thanksgiving as an American thing or not, or doing this or doing that. The 12 steps in general, they're a conversion process, and to me, any conversion process could be inherently, like, violent when it's not consensual. I was converted into Bill's religion. It was non-consensual. It was done while it was masquerading as something that wasn't a religion, and it wasn't a cult. And so, to me, that's inherently violent when you force somebody coerce somebody, and the way that cults coerce people, people always say, like, "Oh, there wasn't a gun to your head," or, um, "Nobody made you do anything," or "You can leave anytime," or "You weren't locked up." Like, but cults don't lock you up. That's like a prison, and cults don't put guns to your head. That's like, I don't know, that's like a criminal or whatever, it's like an outlaw. What cults do is they use words. Words is how we get controlled. They don't use guns. Sometimes they might, but they don't use guns traditionally, they don't have to. They use words. Words control us. So it's the loaded language. It's the repetition. The slow things seem annoying and weird when you get there, right? And then eventually they, like, get into your head, and that's how the thought reform works. It's these short, easy to understand, like, 3rd grade level understanding words that slowly change your thinking over time. They reform your thoughts. So through the repetition over and over and over again, it sinks in one day at a time, one day at a time, one day at a time, which on the surface, one day at a time can feel less. But then if you're really living your life one day at a time, what about your goals? What about striving? What about, like, when you don't need that anymore? It becomes like a learned helplessness. Well, yeah, okay, being present's a vibe, but so is also planning for your long-term future goals. So, yeah, Cassandra says, "They can't even hear themselves when I see the comments you get. They don't even know how hateful they sound, or maybe they do." Yeah, I think most of them, yes, again, I can't assume intention, right? I would guess that most of the people who are, like, below the belt, I love when people disagree with me. Don't you like when they disagree with you? That's how we can expand our minds and learn and grow. Like, hello, I don't want everyone to think like me. I wanna continue to evolve, and I want, like, my own logical fallacies to be highlighted on occasion by people critiquing, like, my thinking, and I'm like, "Thank you for helping me grow." But when there's a below the belt level, and when they make it about my character or my personality, when people attack you and not what you're saying, attack the ideas, not the person. Yeah, I don't think that they see it. I think it's like what I've read in the cult literature, and some of you have definitely read more in the cult literature than me, but it's like because we're repressing, because we're being grateful all the time, this coerced gratitude this is how I see it. We're not allowed to be resentful, angry, fearful, self-seeking, self-centered, whatever. There's all the rules about how we're supposed to be, but eventually over time, the bar gets raised, right? We think we just need to, like, not drink today, and then it gets raised, and there's all these rules, and because we're repressing essentially all these parts of ourselves through, like, mind-numbing inventories, thought-stopping slogans, constant, like, exhaustion from all the meetings and stuff. I mean, how many people like, there was a time when I'd get up at 4 in the morning, get on like, I was in San Francisco, I worked in San Jose, which is far, so I'd get up and I worked at eBay, and I'd take an hour and a half bus down to work, and then I'd come home back, and I'd be back at 7 at night, and I'd have the bus drop me off at, like, a meeting, go to a meeting, and then go home and go straight to sleep. Then I have to figure out when I was gonna eat dinner outside of that. So it's exhausting, especially if you're working long hours and commuting to also make it to all these meetings. So you're exhausted. So anyways, you're not allowed to feel the feelings, right? And so there's a real repression that can happen from our natural human experience. It's like if you push a beach ball underwater, right? You have to put the pressure down, otherwise it's gonna pop up. So the way that I think actually, this is a good analogy. The way that I think about some of these culty commenters, the ones that are below the belt, not critical thinkers who think differently than me, but culty commenters, ones that are, like, inside the ideology or being very aggressive about my personality or my character or, like, whatever. It's like they're repressing their own emotions that they're not allowed to feel inside the ideology, like a beach ball under the water, the pool, and then it pops up occasionally, and so their anger or their resentment or their hate comes out sideways to dissenters. That's how they channel out their and this is what I read in the cult literature. They channel out their emotions to dissenters because they need to, like, express themselves, relieve that pressure of that ball being pushed underwater or of their anger and whatever else that's being repressed inside the ideology, and it gets popped out on in safe spaces, like, on dissenters. Like, that's kinda how I think about, some of what's going on, and I also think that they're blind to it because if you really believe that, the ideology is saving your life, the group is saving your life, then a dissenter in that case is threatening to people's lives. So if you feel like people's lives are on the line here, then yeah, it does make sense to fight the enemy, the one who is the one who okay, so if you believe that AA is the lifesaver and it is the only way to help the alcoholic who is still suffering or even the old timer with 40 years who's still in the room, if you believe that a lifesaver is the only way to save them, and then somebody who's dissenting is poking holes in the lifesaver and saying, "Actually, that's a lie, it's not real, it's not true," then yeah, it would be right to wanna get the person off of poking holes in the lifesaver, right? It's just that the ideology isn't true, and if your program is all around spiritual action, why are you attacking people on the internet? How does that work out with you being on your side of the street, you taking your own inventory, you praying for people who make you angry, like, all of the principles you're supposed to be practicing in all of your affairs, like, where does attacking humans on the internet come into your spiritual program of action? Let's see. Kate says, "Yes, it's all the same, but I should say that Italian meetings don't work the steps and don't have sponsors, but they read the literature and share. I only went a couple of times." And very interesting. And I was told it was wrong AA. Yeah, so funny. I've heard that too, that certain AA is right AA, wrong AA, or better AA, whatever. When I was in a cult within a cult AA, we felt well, what I in the rooms was it moved AA the right way, that mainstream AA was harmful, and that this AA was the good AA, the right AA, the closer you get closer to God with the steps that we do this way kind of a thing. Cult within a cult. Italian meetings warn against sponsors, which are a good thing, I guess. So interesting. I mean, I just wonder, like, at first, I guess when I was leaving AA or even starting to dissent, I was kind of in the mindset that if AA changed a little bit, just maneuvered some of the work, some of the practices, that maybe it could work and be a viable path. The way that I think now, and again, I'm not right, this is just kinda what I think now, is that it's harmful no matter what, and there is no saving it, and that me wanting to save AA or wanting AA to be a little bit different so people will be less harmed by it, or thinking that that might not me wanting to do that, but me thinking that might make it work or be a good idea, I feel like that was part of my deprogramming journey, was thinking it was still worth savable. I don't see it that way now. Because the whole crux of the program is on this God thing, and I think coerced religion is not cool, period. And I don't see how it can be changed so that it's not about God. Although, actually, you know what? I heard from somebody, what is it called? Massa? Have you guys heard of Massa? Looking it up this morning. MARA, sorry, MARA, which is Medication Assisted Recovery Anonymous. It is I'm looking at they have 12 steps. I was looking up their steps this morning, and they actually sounded fine to me because they weren't religious steps. They were based on the 12 steps, and they said they were not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but they used AA steps as inspiration, but they on first glance, just reading through them, I'm like, "Oh, this doesn't sound wrong." So, maybe there is a chance for, like, inspired groups um, to come off of AA. Let me know what you guys think. Some of you guys are in AA, so you still think it's a vibe, which is totally fine. I think that we all just gotta think for ourselves and do what makes sense for us. From Buddha to T-Rex in a heartbeat. Maybe I'm missing the context here. Maybe that was based upon something I said or something somebody else said? We have Blue Butterfly is saying, "Which step is attacking people on the internet?" That's so funny. Wait, and then we have step 14. Yeah, you know what? Like, I remember how angry I felt this one specific time. Gosh, what year was that? It was January 2015, so I would have been 5.5 years sober, 5 years sober, and somebody was saying leading I was in this monastery in Kathmandu, Nepal, this Buddhist monastery, and the nun was saying that, addiction is a habit, and she was on one the whole talk she was giving, and I was on a 3-week retreat there, and I was so livid. How dare this lady and she even said she has never been addicted to anything and had no family members addicted, but addiction is a habit and you can break your habit, and I just remember being so livid with I felt like, how dare she spread such a dangerous message to 200 people in this room and whoever else she's telling. And I just remember literally feeling so enraged inside, and I I raised my hand and said, "A lot of us in America think that addiction is a disease, and we use the 12 steps." And she's like, "Yeah, that's an idea, but other ideas too." She's not. I was like, horrified, right? But because I was on this silent-ish meditation retreat called, Uprooting Difficult Emotions through Tibetan Buddhism, I thought, "You know what? Why don't I figure out why I'm so angry?" So I didn't debate her, I didn't, proselytize across the room, I didn't take responsibility for everybody else's ears and brains, I didn't try to control it. I really spent 3 days there, in silence, wondering why I was so angry that the nun was suggesting that addiction was a habit. Why am I so, like, inflamed internally? There's so much anger in me. Why am I so angry? And what I discovered as I went it's a longer story that maybe I'll tell another time, but really the bottom line is what I discovered when I really dove in was that when I am attached very deeply to belief, especially when it feels like life or death, I'm, like, I get super angry when somebody has a different belief, and so I was able to see and that gave me a little bit of freedom on that, of not being as offended when somebody would say something that woulda sounded like um, heresy before, which is like addiction is a habit when I believed it was a fatal progressive disease at that time. Um, yeah, so it's interesting to look at, and I love mindfulness for trying to, like, kinda, like, go into seeing, "Why was my body having such a strong reaction right now? And do I actually agree with what my body's doing?" So what the belief that's been ingrained, indoctrinated into me, do I actually, when I think about it, is that true for me? And, yeah, just exploring it, like, if we have a strong reaction, exploring, like, why does that feel unsafe for me or scary to me or dangerous to me? What about that feels dangerous to me? What am I believing that's causing that? And is there truth to what this other person's saying? I don't know, just being more aware of how our beliefs are affecting our life, our emotional world, and how we treat strangers on the internet. Keith says, "Happy Thanksgiving. May it just automatically and naturally be more blessed and beautiful, more with every healing breath, my strong and resourceful friends." I love that. Besties giving in the house. Um, yeah, my wish is that we can reclaim all of ourselves after everything that we've been through, and be able to be all of the feelings anytime that they naturally arise. Sully says, "Don't forget your inventory today, y'all, or you're a dry drunk." Oh my gosh, the dry drunk thing. I honestly think that dry drunk and untreated alcoholism were like genius terms. Here's what I mean. Obviously, I don't think that they're true. I don't know what you should think, but I think those are completely made up terms. And from a sales perspective, when I started studying sales and understanding that Bill Wilson was a salesman, and therefore he knew a lot more about sales than me, and I started questioning, like, the night that I popped out of AA is when I realized AA was a Bill that Bill was a salesman, and I started looking at the Big Book as a sales book and really analyzing it for what exactly Bill was telling me. And so the dry drunk thing, so if you're a dry drunk or if you have untreated alcoholism, those are 2, in my mind, made or in my understanding, 2 made up terms that describe a lack, essentially, a lack of Bill's program. So let's just think about any program, any course, any ideology. So when you brand an absence of your idea as a pathology, because literally, if you don't buy into my idea, you have a pathology. There's something wrong with you, and here's a name for it. And here's all if you are questioning if you're questioning my idea, Bill's idea of the 12 steps, if you're questioning my idea, that's proof of your pathology, that's proof of your disease, right? So from a sales perspective, it's genius to have terms like dry drunk and untreated alcoholism, although he might not have made those terms, those might have come through the culture of the 12 steps, right? But I was taught in the Big Book that there was 2 places that untreated alcoholism is defined. Let me know what your experience is. So in mainstream AA, I was taught that untreated alcoholism is when you're restless, irritable, or discontented. Now I know that's just a human experience. And also, I was taught and so that if you are restless, irritable, and discontented, that's proof that you're dry drunk or untreated alcoholism, right? Then when I was in the cult within the cult, we looked at things slightly differently, and within that group, we looked at that the bedevilments. Does anybody remember the bedevilments in the Big Book? So the bedevilments are, we couldn't be at ease, we were having a trouble making a living, we feared people, wasn't these bedevilments proof of something about lunar flight, so I don't remember the bedevilments exactly, but there's a page in there that's known as the bedevilments or paragraph in there. And I was told that that's all untreated alcoholism, and that if we feel this way, if we feel at dis-ease in the world, or that we're having trouble in our relationships, or that we don't feel of real use, that that's proof of this dry drunk thing or this untreated alcoholism, and what we need to do is the steps in order to solve that. Now I just see that as, like, having a hard season in life or being a human going through normal human emotions. Let's see. Alright, what beverage did you guys bring to coffee, tea, and bestie giving? I have a coffee. So many, so many this, commenter So many positive things about AA, so many negatives too. A lot of societal groups operate like cults, woke, for instance. Yeah, 100%. There I got a lot of positive things out of AA, and I think, like, when I look at the cult literature, a lot of people leave cults with a lot of skills that they learned inside the cult, right? And so, a skill that I learned inside AA was public speaking. I mean, I worked on my own as well. I went to Toastmasters, and I did a lot of things. I had a phobia of public speaking. It was actually quite traumatic when AA would say that I needed to get up and share. I was having panic attacks and snotting and freaking out and crying, and it was not good. It was a hot mess. But there are a lot of things that I learned in AA that I take with me, but that whole line about "Take what you want and leave the rest," I couldn't truly do that until after I left AA and could actually the way that I look at it now, it's like, take what you want and deprogram the rest. Because now that I realize I'm not gonna die without it, I can actually be like, "Okay, there were some things that I learned in AA," and not from AA ideology even, but some of the people in AA. And they might have been coming from different backgrounds and different educations and different healing paths or whatever. Jim says, "Happy Thanksgiving, Americans." Woot woot. Jim says, is that not 1,000 forms of fear?" Cassandra says, "I have a debatable healthy energy drink called Georgie." I don't know what that is, but sounds delicious. Um, Kate says, "Love that, take what you want and deprogram the rest." That's really where I'm at. And you know what's interesting? I think I might actually like a comprehensive video on YouTube about this because it was just really helping me this morning. I did wake up early and was doing some deprogramming work. And so I was looking at different cult um, leaders like Yanya Lalich and who wrote Take Back Your Life or um, like Margaret Singer, who wrote Cults in Our Midst, and just or Robert J. Lifton and his 8 phases of thought reform, 8 criteria of thought reform. I was looking at different cult leaders and how they looked at deprogramming from cults. Again, I don't need to be in the debate with anybody in AA that AA is a cult or not. That doesn't really interest me. But understanding that AA seeing AA as a cult and through a cult lens really informs a way out, a path out, and that's what's most important because to me, the most important thing is liberation, right? Is getting free from it. And so when I understand that how AA was a cult, I can look at and that I'm clear on that for myself. Then I can look at cult recovery paths and, like, see a path out of the thought reform. So I got thought reformed in AA or brainwashed and conditioned in AA, and I wanna get out of that. And so why don't I look at the models that have been used for decades by these people who spent 20, 30, 50 years studying this stuff. And so when I was, like, looking at I made a checklist of, like, the different things to do as you're deprogramming or uncultifying, right? Deprogramming from a cult, um, or high school group. And I just kinda highlight like, these are, like, the stats, like, according to the experts, and I circled the ones that I feel like I haven't done yet. So it kinda gave me an idea of where I'm at in my deprogramming journey so that I can move through to the next level. And I feel like continuing to evolve is where it's at. So I was thinking about making, like, a longer video with the checklist in the video, and then, yeah, maybe putting it on the screen so you can pause and, like, say, "Is there any like, what on here have I not done yet?" If you wanna continue to do deprogramming work. It was great kinda see, like, where I'm at because the other thing I'm looking at is, like, how long does it take to deprogram? Obviously, I don't want my life tied to alcohol, I don't drink anymore, I don't want it tied to Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't go anymore, but I also don't wanna, um, stop deprogramming before I'm done. I don't want AA in my head anymore. I don't want that ideology dominating me. I wanna liberate myself. So, yeah, a lot of cult experts will say the first thing you do when you leave a group like AA, there's the stabilization period. There's the reforming your identity after it and finding your purpose after it because AA gives us our identity. You're an alcoholic, your purpose is to help alcoholics. And the feelings you're allowed to feel and not allowed to feel and stuff like that. And then a lot of the cult experts, do talk about between, like there is more healing between 5 and 10 years in the group, depending on how far you were in and how long you were in, and I was a true believer, I was in AA for 10 years, and I'd say I was a true believer for, like, 8 of those years, 7 and a half of those years, 7 yeah, 8 of those years, I would say, 'cause in AA, 10 and a half years, it took me a couple of years to get super deep, and then I was deep, and then I believed it all as truth, right? And so I mean, I was indoctrinated in the very beginning. I was definitely going in the beginning, but by the time I locked in, it was like, you know, the kind of person that would be called on all the time to be the speaker because I shared in a way that was, like, very indoctrinating. It was like a sales pitch for AA, although I didn't realize that. So, for me, I feel like I would be one of the ones who has a lot of deprogramming to do because I was in really deep. So I went in really far, so I need to walk out far, right? I walked into AA far, so then to come out of AA, I gotta walk back all the length that I went in. And so, there are some called experts who say that it can be like 10 years to deprogram, right? And I don't think it needs to be all the time. This isn't bad news. To me, the idea of deprogramming long term actually is really exciting because it's more pockets of freedom. Each time I deprogram or do the next part of deprogramming, I wake up to more freedom. So I'm waking up to more me, more life, more vibrancy, more fullness. So I look at it as actually a very exciting thing to do to be on the deprogramming journey because there's more freedom available, and I love that. So to me, it's kind of like, "Oh, cool." So anyway, this morning I got clear on, uh, the next steps and phases in my own personal deprogramming journey, and let me know what you think, but I'm happy to even share with you, like, where I'm at right now. Definitely the process I used or provide the process I went through so you can see where you're at, if that makes sense, and what your next steps might be. Yeah, I don't know, I think it's kinda cool. Let's see. Okay, so how many things about history and health that we've been lied to is coming out at an accelerated rate right now? Yes, totally agree with this one. That's why I'm always saying, like, it's 2025. Like, why are you guys still lying to us about addiction? What the hell? I feel like we know better, so we should be doing better. A lot of us know that AA is really harmful. A lot of us know that for most people, recovery is not forever. I don't think that recovery is forever, and the mainstream narrative, at least in my mind, the mainstream narrative is that recovery is forever, and maybe that's just, like, American culture, I don't know. I'm not really sure that I'm fully even in America culture fully, having lived overseas for a long time, and, like, most of my friends were Indonesian and Australian and not having a lot of contact with Americans. It's like yeah, but I would say that the mainstream narrative is still that recovery is forever, that's kind of what most people think, this whole in recovery thing, and I think the whole in recovery thing is like, I don't know. I think that that's kind of a prison that's not necessary, but I think everybody should choose. If you wanna be in recovery forever, then do what feels right to you, of course. Video about the checklist. Okay, let me just write that down so I make sure to do it. Called checklist recovery. Yeah, because when I did the checklist and, like, some of the things on there were then, like, it's not just realizing like, for me, it's really important to realize that I don't think that alcohol addiction is a disease. I don't think that I have spiritual malady. I don't think that I have that I need a daily reprieve. I don't think I do see AA as a religion. I do see it as a cult. Like, starting to wake up to how I feel about the specific group that I was in was super helpful for deprogramming. But then there's other things like rebuilding your life. Like, one of the questions is like, um, what were you like before your involvement in the group? It's like, okay, who was I before I was told who to be there? Now, I joined in 2009. I went to AA in 2009. That's when I joined the cult. So, who I was in 2009, I mean, I was drinking a lot before that, but I'm already a different person. I'm a lot older than 2009, aren't we all? So, I wouldn't be the same person that I was then, but I would probably be more like that version of me than the version that AA had me be. Try not to touch your microphone. Oops. Okay, it's on right here. Maybe my hair's in it. Is that what's happening? Or maybe I'm moving my chair and it's rubbing up against. That's so annoying, but I can hold it out. That's not a problem. Okay. Katie and Alex plus dogs. Welcome, New Zealand. Good morning. Creating a book list for recovering. What's your top suggestion? Okay, I have done this. Let me drop the link in the comments. I can grab that really quickly. Let's see. Okay, so what I did, Katie and Alex plus dogs, is I went to Amazon and I created you can create little things there, and so what I did is I created a book list on cold recovery, I created a book list on deprogramming, and I created a book list on, oh, wait, okay, oops, I went over to YouTube by mistake. Why don't I put that right here? Oh, it did go here too. I accidentally went to YouTube, so I was, like, seeing myself delay, that was so weird. Yeah, so in there, I did, people were also asking me how do I create content. So, they wanted to know, like, not this headset, but, like, the microphone that I use for my podcast, the headset that I use, the lighting that I use. I created, like, a content creation little, like, list there. I created books on deprogramming AA, books on critical thinking, books on, made different book lists there that I think were all good for deprogramming, and oh, yeah, cult recovery, deprogramming AA, and critical thinking, and then also, um because I tell you guys that what I'm most grateful for, like, what I've what's happened with me this past year that I'm the most happy about is, like, my brain working so much better. I made 2 things over there about healthier products that I use for home and just yeah, as things that I started incorporating into my life. Anyways, I put it all on Amazon because everyone kept asking me, and it's just at sobrietybestie.com/books just to make it easy. Um, yeah. Also, we are in the Deprogram Lounge, we are reading a critical thinking book, Demon Haunted Mind, is that what it is? Demon Haunted World, Carl Sagan, right now. So, that one should be really good. Um, okay. What about the transgender brainwashing cult destroying children? You know, honestly, for me personally, I haven't dug deep enough into this topic. It's not my lane to speak about. I know that there are different sides of the fence here, and this is a very intense conversation, and I don't have personal experience with it. So, for me, I feel most comfortable staying with like, all of the deprogramming things, although if what you mean by that is society programming people into certain beliefs and that harming people, I get how that's related, but I wanna stay in my lane. Let's see. Kate, can we please not do politics? It's exactly how I feel. I feel like my stand is for, getting out of I but that's great, ask all the questions you want, but I wanna stay in my lane where I have very specifically Um, I started my business in 2012, and that's really when I started that's when I got my life coaching certification, spent a year long doing that, and then I did a second year-long training with that coaching group to learn, like, leadership skills and stuff like that, and I've just been developing myself as, like, a leader, but at the same time that I've been doing all of this mindfulness training, basically, doing meditations, like, training like, around the world and learning how to live more embodied. I was always so emotionally dysregulated and help people with anxiety and emotions and stuff like that. So I feel like my skill set and what I've helped a lot of people with is more around nervous system regulation. Um, Courage is like one of my one of my things, like, really helping people. I love coaching, I love helping people believe in themselves and, like, realize that they're likely believing lies and break through them so that they can achieve more, be more, or even just, like, relax more or whatever. Those are really what I would say are my lanes, like coaching, nervous system regulation, and then I started very aggressively, passionately studying deprogramming in 2020 when I left AA, so I feel really confident, um, kicking off conversations on those topics. Um, okay, we have laugh my ass off, transgender isn't a cult, it's just a personal choice, quit with the pearl clutching, these moralists and are the worst for the children, to be honest. Yeah, I know it's a heated topic, especially if you are transgender or if you have a loved one who is, right? Or if you think that it's not real or whatever. It's across the board, and I'd like to stick with, let's take a breath, everybody. Nervous system regulation. Um, okay, so, um, yeah, I just noticed that there was a commenter, who was attacking another commenter in the comments, so I just put them on a time. I hate doing that, but it's gonna make me even cry. I hate doing that. I'm not here for that. I love that we get to all have our views, and I respect everybody's views, but we're not gonna be attacking each other here. We get enough from, like, AA cultists coming after us, you know what I mean? Like, we're not doing that here. So, as much as I hate to, like I guess I just click on it and you can do, like, hide user. I hate to do that, but I need to have a boundary, you know? I'm not here to control anybody, but I'm here to make sure that we have a, we have a place where we can do this deprogramming work together without attacking each other. Kate and Alex plus dogs, happy Thanksgiving. And then Kate says, "We are here for a safe space." Yes, that's how I feel. So, I was like, "God, that made me a little scared." I almost even cried. I felt the tears coming to my eyes. I'm like, "I hate doing this, but I can't," you know? Like, it's hard enough to leave a group that told you you're gonna die if you leave. It's hard enough to literally have to like, when I got to AA, okay, so here's what happened. So I had a good friend from my drinking years who got sober in AA about 3 or 4 years before I got sober, and I knew she was sober. I didn't know she was in AA, but I knew she was sober, and so when I was flying to rehab, I was at the airport, SFO, flying down to Los Angeles for rehab, and I texted her and I said, "Hey, I'm going to rehab. I have a drinking problem." And she texted back AA lingo that made no sense to me. She said, "The only thing that has to change is everything." And I was like, "What the fuck?" I'm, like, hungover as hell, like, I'm so scared, you know, and she's texting me this AA mumbo jumbo, and I was like, "What the fuck?" You know, that, like, initial indoctrination that just, like, was like, "Huh?" So then, like, when I leave AA, I feel like it's the same. I feel like the only thing that has to change is everything. There's so much to process when you leave a cult. There's your identity, which goes so deep. There's all of your friends. Most of them are like, most things that you change in your life aren't gonna require that you change your identity, that you're totally emotionally dysregulated, that all of a sudden all your friends think you're crazy, that you think you're gonna die. Like, it's so intense to leave a cult that I feel like anything that's not related to that, let's just, you know, let's just leave it somewhere else. Um, let's see what everyone else is saying. Yes, agreed, we should all stay on the same page, and honestly, like Kirsten said, it's just not what we're here for. We're grown-ups deprogramming from AA. Yeah, thank you. I look, we can all have our own opinions, and I respect that. I don't want everybody to think all the same. That would be boring and weird and not true, and that would be our like, the forced gratitude baloney. But yes, this group is a safe space from AA, NA, wherever else anonymous. Totally. Amen. Don't need outside issues. Seriously, though, I just wanna know how to recover from AA. Yeah. So, Katie and Alex's dogs. This is this like day 5? Day 4? out of AA. Uh, yeah, it was all the feels for me leaving, and I have spent this entire year, like, so passionately creating everything that I wish existed when I left AA, because it was the hardest thing that I've ever done. And I don't think it's gonna be that hard for everybody. I was in deep, and, like, my whole world was taken away when I left it. I knew it was a scam and I had to go, but at the same time, it meant losing, like, everything. And it was very destabilizing. I was very isolated because I didn't have anybody that could reflect back to me aside from my therapist, so I've created this I spent all of 2025 creating all of the resources essentially that I wish existed when I left AA. And so my YouTube is filled with playlists, starting even going through the 8 different like, I would start at Robert J. Lifton's Thought Reform, the 8 criteria for thought reform. I go one by one in 8 different videos through the 8 different criteria for thought showing how AA needs each one, and that really can help wake up I got more free as I was making that because it was helping me deprogram even more. Then there's a playlist, AA is a cult or Yes, AA is a cult, and we go through the 15-point checklist from the ICSA, the International Cult Studies Association website, 15-point checklist comparing AA to it, and so that really helped me see AA as a cult, but also get more free. There's a playlist on YouTube called Leaving AA Conversations. Now, those I also think are really helpful because you're gonna I don't know whose story might be reflecting back to you yours, but those, like, the when I've had guests, like, interviews on the podcast and other people have shared their stories. So there's a lot of different freedom available, and I've hit it from a lot of different angles. There's also a playlist called Culty Comments, where we go through a comment that's come to me through the socials that's clearly from somebody who's inside the AA ideology and breaking down even what they're saying or how they're asking it or what they're doing or how they're treating me, quite frankly, comes from a ideology with the intention of better seeing the ideology so we can remove it from ourselves. So there's, and then I know that you specifically have signed up for the Escape Kit, which is free, which is where I took all of the resources that I made and I put them in a logical order where it looks like an online course and it's in a private app with some downloadables as like this is the path that I would think makes a lot of sense to doing the deprogramming work. I don't know the right order, and there isn't a right order, and healing isn't linear. But y'all probably know, a lot of you know I have, like, a very strong background in math and, like, statistics, right? And so logical progressions and things, like, it kind of, like, make sense to me, like, the journey, and I understand the transformation, so that's what I would recommend doing. But I think trusting your wisdom and your intuition, whatever feels like the right path for you is actually the right path for you. I just laid out what I think makes sense logically. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of resources here to go through in your own time, whatever feels right, and, I love that you're here vibing with this. I know that that's really helpful to be in a bit of community around it. Let's see. Oh, thanks, person. I love when your empathy shines through, tears are okay. Who says, "I'm so glad I found you exactly at the right time. Great to hear." Katie and Alex has dogs. It's day 5. Kate, when Kate says, "When I left, I felt like I had completely failed one more thing." Yeah. Um, Mike is on, maybe it's me. Oh, Mike is off. Shoot. You know, like, hang on a second. I can get the trusty mic out. It's just less comfortable to wear, but I have it right here on my desk. Bear with me, please. This mic is good. This Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Let me see if I'm set up to microphone size or profile. Default Sennheiser profile. Are we good? Are we on a good track here? This is the professional mic. Sennheiser profile. Are we good? Are we on a... Oops, echoing. Let me turn that window closed. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is like this is not the headset that came with my iPhone. This is the one that the professional one. This is the podcast. Okay, I should just do this next time. I should just go live with like the real setup. I don't know. I guess I was just feeling like lazy or have a hard time hearing. Sorry about that. Okay, I won't do that. Bye, Steve. I won't do that next time. I'll just keep it with a good quality. We know this one works. This is yeah. And then, okay, so we have, Roy says, AA completely disabled me. I ended up not even recognizing who I was. I'm so grateful to have left AA and to kind of return to who I am. Thank you for what you do. Yeah. It was shocking to me. It is shocking to me to see night and day who I was before AA, who I was when I was fully in AA, and then leaving and being like, what the fuck am I now? Who am I now? And going on that journey. Yeah. So you say, I'm so grateful to have left AA. Me too. I think part of what gives me the courage to put myself out there in such a big way with dissenting. I never thought I'd dissent. I never thought I would public speak. Are you kidding me? I had a phobia of public speaking. I literally changed majors in college the day they wanted me to give a speech in my major. Kate, I was majoring in Italian, okay? I loved Italian, but they wanted me to get up and give a speech in Italian. And instead, I stayed home. I ditched class, which I never did because I was like a good student. And I changed majors to avoid public speaking. I was like, fuck that shit. So the fact that not only am I public speaking, that I'm dissenting against a cult, it's like so bananas to me. Yeah, but I'm grateful that I have left AA. And for me, it's yeah, it's like a return to home. It's a return to ourself. Like we get to be, it's so weird when I think about some of it. Like we get to be in charge of our own life. I have this old microphone, it's like on my lap, twisted up. Okay. Yeah, really grateful you are here too. The big mic is working great. Yeah. Awesome. The iPhone mics are iffy. Yeah. Let's see. Honestly, I wasn't able to get better until I finally not only left AA, but completely went against all other teachings. It disabled me too. That is the accurate word. It's disabled. AA ideology disabled me 100%. And realizing that I had disabled others through indoctrinating them into AA ideology, through speaking in meetings and sponsorship and H&I, was very horrifying to realize. I'm so glad that you are better and that you have left and deprogrammed or are deprogramming. I remember once in a meeting hearing about how addiction didn't ruin their life, but dissolved them. I remember beginning to feel exactly the same about who I was becoming in recovery. Yeah, it's funny because it's like AA ideology is cunning, baffling. What is cunning, baffling, and powerful, isn't it? It's like insidious. It's slow. It's like, what is it? Is that called water torture when they drip it on your forehead or something, right? Where it's one drop is not a problem, but when you start adding them up, you know, the little hits add up over time. And slowly, just 1 degree of this stuff happening every day. And you think if a plane's in San Francisco and it's flying to New York, but you turn the steering wheel 1 degree, it's not going to end up in New York. It might end up in like South America or North America, not going east, right? It changes the direction. So you end up in a whole different path. So the ideology that slowly, like methodically and repeatedly indoctrinated into us is slowly changing who we are, but we don't even really see it. It's that frog in slowly boiling water. Although I'd say that a lot of us, when we first get to AA, we recognize that it's kind of culty, don't we? We're like, what the fuck is all this? This is weird. They're chanting, what's the Lord's Prayer? Like, I didn't know these prayers. I didn't grow up religious. I'm like, what? Daily bread? What are we talking about? If you're not religious, why are we praying? Why are we holding hands? In fact, you know what I did? Like my first year, I would leave every meeting 5 minutes early because I wasn't going to hold everybody's hand and pray. And I got to every meeting 5 minutes late because I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I didn't want to be asked to read anything in a meeting because I was so like petrified of public speaking. I would like go to every meeting late and leave every meeting early. I'm like, this place is weird. True confessions. Let's see. Lol, I switched courses to at uni due to public speaking component of coursework. Totally. Kate, I'll have you come visit and give you a crash course. Love it. Yeah, when I did like two, I don't know, I'm American, so like we do this like backpacking in Europe thing, right? It's like an American dream. And so I did twice like before social media, but I did like maybe in 99 and 2001 or 98 and 2001 maybe, two different Europe backpacking trips. And I remember when I went to Rome, I loved it so much and I felt like I wanted to move there. And I remember hearing two Italians fight, like screaming at each other. And I just remember thinking it was so beautiful. And at that point in my life, screaming was like a huge trigger for me and super sensitive. I mean, it still is. But I thought I want to speak the language that even when people are yelling, it still sounds like poetry and magical to me. So I went home and switched to Italian and Italiano è una bella lingua. I was like, I got to study Italian. I want to speak what these people speak. I can't speak it though. I can speak Indonesian, but Italian, just very basics. But yeah, I felt like Rome to me kind of felt like San Francisco vibes. It just kind of had a fun feeling to it. I just really liked Rome. And if I had more courage, I would have moved there because I really wanted to move to Rome. That's how I felt when I was in Rome. But I didn't have the courage yet to move overseas. So I was like, okay. Plus, the world was different in 2001. There's more ways to move overseas now as far as like the internet being what it is. Let's see. Okay, that's how I felt at being in treatment centers. AA was probation, probation, etc. It was all just encompassing at the very best. It just distracts while you're doing all their chores, but it doesn't help at all. Let's see. Oh, for sure. I was just like you, Kirsten. I thought it was totally weird, but then eventually said, I'll give it a chance. Maybe they know something I don't. I was desperate and they preyed on it. Totally. Yeah. We all kind of, I feel like most of us know when we get to AA, like, what the hell is this? What are the prayers, the chanting, the slogans, the whole thing just kind of can feel, well, it feels a little culty, doesn't it? Okay. I couldn't say it works if you work it, if you're worth it. So many fucking W's. Yeah. It's funny. Let's see. I also did grow up in a Christian school, no longer religious, and still thought of the religious stuff was weird. I just think coerced religion is not okay. I have no problem with like, if people choose anything, that's great. It's the coercion that's a problem for me, no matter what we're talking about. I think that's it. We're so desperately vulnerable. I wish I had just gone to detox and then got a decent clinical psychologist. Yeah. Your accent is good. Rome is awesome. It's funny. And maybe it plays into like, y'all know I've been assessed as autistic twice, actually, as if the first one wasn't enough. I'm like, are you sure? But I've always had like an ear for sound that I've felt that isn't super common. Like when I was at the rave, it was like with like the house music, with the techno, right? With the electronic music. I could just hear the music. I would have a different experience with music. And like, even I have synesthesia. Like when I'd be at the rave, I would see the music. I knew that I was different. I knew that not everybody was experiencing that, but I didn't understand that like maybe actually my nervous system was totally different, right? Or that it was wired in a way that maybe other people's weren't. But yeah, I would see the music. It would come up to me at layers, like when I'd be dancing to electronic music, like in the 90s and stuff. But when I speak Indonesian, a lot of the Indonesians will say that, this tangent on tangent, because I hear exactly what they're saying. So like a typical foreigner will say, Aba kabar, which is how are you? But Indonesians don't say it like that. They say it like with a fluctuation. So I'll be like, Aba kabar, because that's how they say it. It's like a song. So they'll be like, like, what's your name? And instead of saying like, my name is whatever, I'll be like, yeah, anyway, so I kind of like sing it because they sing it, and that's how they say it. So you're supposed to sound like the local, right? But most people who are foreigners don't sound like locals. I don't know. Let's see. Well, everybody, it's been so fun to be here for this. I don't know if all of y'all are celebrating Thanksgiving or not, but it's been fun to come together. I am thinking about doing this every Thursday. That's the plan. I just updated my YouTube header so that there's two shows that I'm thinking about doing twice a week. There's the one on Sunday that you may have seen with Tara Grace from Burn the Stigma. So that's Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern, or 5 p.m. UK. And then the second show would be, or live stream. They're both live streams, right? Call them shows, whatever, it's YouTube. Then the second one will be on Thursdays at the same time. So 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. UK. And that'll be, I think the working name we have right now is Coffee, Tea, and Besties. So that we can come together, all bring a topic. I might even get a little more advanced. I got to figure out the software that I'm using here because I can present, I can like show my screen and present. So I might even make like, maybe I'll even like put up the checklist for where you're at in your current deprogramming journey and do it live with you guys and like present and show things on the screen. I'll just need to like do some tutorials and figure out how to do that, the technology behind it. But I think that there's fun ways that we can deprogram together in the live jam sessions, besides just the conversations in the comments that I think are super helpful and validating. I think to me, one of the hardest things about leaving 12 step is the anonymity and feeling isolated. So being validated is such a huge help. Not that we need to be validated in our evolution, but it does help. Like, we're humans. It helps to know that we're not the only one that thinks what we think. And so I think that just coming together and having the comment conversations live is super helpful, but also yeah, also maybe some of them will be like specific, like more presentations. Like I can put words on the screens and we can go through things and like grow and evolve together. Kind of like how I did 1 week in August, we did Grief Week. Does anybody remember Grief Week? Where I went through the so-called, one of the models is like 5 stages of grief. And then like a letter after that for like the day 6 of Grief Week. I got that because I did a lot of training. I'm certified as a grief recovery mentor or leader or whatever. And so the program that I went through, that I got the training in, I was just kind of sharing with you guys some of the stuff that we learned in that. So yeah, I love that you guys are talking to each other in the comments here too. So again, thanks for coming. I'm always open to feedback of what you think, what's missing, what am I missing? Like, what am I missing? Maybe even in how I see things that you see that I don't see. So much of, I know a lot of what I've said has helped you wake up, but a lot of what you've said has helped me wake up. So we're kind of evolving together in a lot of ways. And I like that. I like that we can do this together. I like that I'm courageous enough to hit live, and I like that you're courageous enough to type comments, and that we can continue to get free together. So thank you for being here. I really believe that we're incredibly courageous. We are in a society that tells us that AA is the way and that recovery is forever and that all this bullshit is true. And we know that it's not. And so I think it takes tremendous courage to even be on this path of deprogramming in the first place. So cheers to you wherever you are in the world from my coffee. And I hope you enjoyed our Besties Giving. And anybody who is watching the replay, then yeah, definitely let us know what comes up for you in the comments. Let's see. Kate says, I absolutely have no one to talk to about leaving AA. Thank you, Kirsten, for providing all the spaces. That was me too. And have the best day, y'all. Cassandra. Yeah, take care, guys. At least I hope that some of you, if otherwise would have felt alone, felt a little less alone today because we came together. And yeah, it's safe to trust yourself. I'll leave it there. Okay, bye everybody. I'll see you next time. See you in the next video, or I'll see you on Sunday for Live with Bernie and Bestie, the live stream. All right, bye guys. Take care. Maybe we'll put You're doing great, Kirsten. Honestly, what you do is super important. Tara Grace, Vic from Quackaholics. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, their work has really helped me too. I feel like we're all waking up together, which is such a beautiful thing. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Happy besties giving.